Hello, friends. Today we have a very distinguished guest on our podcast, Mr. Samir Arora from Bangalore, CEO and founder of Huts Global, his own real estate consultancy firm. He's also been the president and chairman of CREA, that is Confederation of Real Estate Agents in Bangalore. And he's also been the president and current CEO of the National Association of Realtors India, that is NAR India. Without much ado, let us welcome Mr. Samir Arora. Hi, Samir. Welcome to the podcast. It's been long that we have been talking to each other, लेकिन वो मुहूर्त नहीं निकल पा रहा था. So today is the right time to do this now.
Absolutely, and thank you for inviting me over, Kishen. And
Yeah.
looking forward to be a part of it.
Sure, it's a pleasure having you. You have a lot of knowledge, lot of wealth of knowledge, I should say, which we want to unfold today for the viewers and people who want to know more about real estate and especially Bangalore market.
Thank you so much that you consider it, but I continue to remain a student for life and continue to learn from stalwarts like you and the others in the real estate industry. But whatever little I know, I would be more than happy to share.
Pleasure. All right, Samir, we begin. Can you just let us know about yourself? What is Samir Arora and how did you get into the this profession of real estate to start with?
Long story short, these days, by virtue of my name on social media, I define myself. So the letters SAMIR, Samir, stand for speaker, author, mentor, influencer, realtor. So that's what defines me really. And it's been a great journey in life. Was born to an army officer, led a nomad life, started my career in marketing and continued the nomad life. I did chemical engineering. I did MBA. I worked with a large engineering company which is based in Pune, where you are. I worked with Thermax for about 4 years. And it took me 4 long years to realize I'm not a good engineer and I should do something else. That's on a lighter note. Thermax was kind enough to give me the Best Marketing Engineer award for a couple of times. I moved on. A stroke of luck brought me to Bangalore. I got into fashion exports. And that's where I started my business journey. It was wonderful 11 years of traveling the globe. It gave me an opportunity. So my nomad life continued internationally. 60 plus countries is what I visited beside whatever else I learned. And that's a wealth of knowledge because I think traveling is one of the best teachers. You meet different cultures, different people and different things. But essentially to the core, I was a sales and marketing man. And while most people would not believe this, I reached a point where after becoming the youngest CEO of the largest exporter in in India, in the fashion trade, I was fed up of living out of the suitcases and I wanted to do something which brought me back home to the children every day. And trust me, that was my biggest inspiration besides some others to get into real estate. And it's been a fabulous last 20, 21 years that, real estate has been very kind to me. Local associations happened besides my business. We went on to win some awards as a company. My company, Huts Global, has been awarded by Prestige, Shobha, Mantri, Brigade, Purvankara in Bangalore. And then CREA, our local association in Bangalore, I've seen it grow from a nascent to absolute largest city association in the country. And then NAR India happened, and then roles and responsibilities happened along with. And it's been a fabulous journey. I can only be grateful. And the relationships established around in the industry, they continue to be my biggest teacher. So, that's my short journey.
Amazing. Samir, you have so much to talk about. Probably one podcast won't do justice to what you have traveled.
Absolutely. Thank you. I intend to write a book before I retire on my travel logs.
You sure must. Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Samir, we'll begin with some talk on Bangalore. Bangalore has been on the forefront of real estate for a long time. It is choice of almost all the MNCs or companies who want to step into the country. They want to open up shop in Bangalore. Now, Bangalore also has certain advantages and certain issues or challenges, I would say. I won't say problems, but challenges. And every problem, every challenge has a solution to it. So, how would you define Bangalore's real estate for the last 2 decades when Bangalore has traveled into being the Silicon Valley of India? And then, how do you foresee the futuristic time for Bangalore real estate?
Wow, that's a lot of questions about Nama Bengaluru, as we call it here. Uh, Kishen, we manifest things in life.
Mhm.
I was in 10th standard playing a junior nationals in a game called archery, representing my state when I first came to Bangalore. I love the climate and weather here. And I don't know, I somehow manifested that day. If I have to ever settle somewhere in life, God, I hope it is Bangalore. And it came true. I came to Bangalore way back in 94, 95. And, the weather in Bangalore is a natural air conditioner.
Yeah.
Weather, at least even today, almost 9 to 10 months a year. Okay. While the global warming has happened and it has impacted cities like Pune and Bangalore, the weather still continues to be better in these two cities. So I think that created a lot of productivity benefits. Number two, Bangalore was a pensioners' paradise. It was an old British hub and was really considered considered a city of, it was called the Green City and city of lakes and stuff. And the boom that happened post Y2K, which is 2000, we are still in 2024.
Yeah.
No other city in the world, no other city, mark my words, in the world has grown its population from 19-20 lakhs to a 1.45 crores. So, no city in the world has grown 7 times in terms of the population. So when people talk of issues, the governments have also struggled. My apologies. People have struggled, the governments have struggled to keep pace with the infrastructure, with the growing population. And obviously, all of that happened around the IT boom because there were no large manufacturing bases on chemicals or other things around. There were no other industries of that kind around. So heavy manufacturing industries, and because of which the pollution remained under control, except for the traffic and the vehicular population.
Yeah.
Bangalore, in terms of real estate, has seen absolutely phenomenal growth. And the reason for that is the IT industry exploded here. And everybody in the US, everybody in the Europe, any MNC wanted to set up base in India, and Bangalore started becoming a natural choice. And which is where, if you see from 2000 to say 2020 till the pandemic, the whole growth has been absolutely astronomical, and you could devote 90% of it to the IT industry, and the balance around the ancillary industry and the other services industry because of the ITES that came through. And if you see some of the biggest Indian corporates, like, in the IT, like your Infosys and Wipro came in, but you can talk of the Fortune 500 and almost who's who is here in Bangalore. Obviously, with the large amount of hiring, Bangalore is also a very, very unique real estate market because the salaries are high, the loanabilities are very, very high. So, the loans get sanctioned, because of which they can buy mid-premium segment and premium segment properties, which is where the developers got a lot more organized and a lot more bigger in scale. If you see, Delhi has a couple of very large developers. Bombay has a few. Pune has a few. But there is no other city in India like Bangalore which has the maximum listed companies or the organized sector large players like Prestige, Shobha, Brigade, Mantri, Rahejas, Godrej's on the national scale, Hira Randani's. total environments, all of them coming in. And that made all the difference to what Bangalore produced in terms of the real estate growth, essentially.
I do remember, Samir, this reminds me when you said that a lot of corporates or companies have gathered their acts together. I do remember around 2003-4, there was this homegrown company in Pune. They wanted to make one floor, one apartment kind of an concept, which was not heard of in Pune till then. And it was only a 5-story building, but on a very posh locality of Boat Club. The developer is not doing good anymore, but he was one of the best, and the spaces that he created, people still throng for it. And once a person lives in that space, they cannot adjust in any other project. He made that concept, and he couldn't find a single buyer in Pune. And fortunately for us, there was a buyer who came in from Bangalore. He migrated to Pune, and he told us that he's looking at something a little more spacious and airy and a very quiet locality. So we showed him this project. He liked it. He said, I want to go. That was the first apartment of the developer sold in that category.
Wow.
Till then, he was fumbling, and he thought that was a wrong decision on his part. Whenever he meets me, he still acknowledges that had it not been for you, I thought I had made a bigger mistake and I would finish, because he was just beginning his career, his work there. And we sold that. And then we were also a little zapped, 5,000 square feet apartment or 4,500 square feet of apartment then buying. So we found out that Teki said that, you know what, I scouted for almost most of the places in localities in Pune, but nobody makes these kind of places. But Bangalore, we have that. So I am so used to staying in that kind of space, and I wanted to find that in Pune. Pune, it wasn't there. So I understand where you're coming from. So Bangalore already has set the stage for luxury living or the spacious living. I'm sure.
Absolutely. See, the luxury living post the pandemic has got very well defined across India, and it has changed parameters, and there is a very high demand for it. But I would say Bangalore, with its villa culture, with its row house culture, with its large penthouses and duplex culture, with its culture of exactly what you are saying, floor-wise single apartments and stuff.
Yeah.
So but the greatest part of Bangalore is, you've got the affordable segment, you've got the mid segment, you've got the luxury segment, and you've got the super luxury segment.
Yeah.
All of it going in the same city. But the basic quality of construction, see, I personally, having traveled some 45 odd cities in India and seen the constructions, I would say for some reason, Bangalore and Pune had the best construction of all the places, really. Now the construction quality has improved a lot, and even tier 2, tier 3 cities are getting great qualities of construction. But we are talking housing, we're talking commercial. The demand supply is what makes it. If you ask me, Bangalore pre-pandemic and Bangalore post-pandemic is also a differently driven market, like many other cities in the place. And I think sorry.
So that was my another question. How do you see, if you could dwell more on pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, how is the scenario changed on requirement, pricing, and demands?
So I would put it this way: anybody who invested in real estate, say between 2000 to 2007, by the sheer virtue of the growth, has actually seen tremendous appreciation in their property values, whether it be plots, whether it be lands, whether it be apartments, villas, or any other, or say a commercial structure, right? And then we had the whole Lehman Brothers and the depression and the stuff happening for a couple of years, the whole cycles in real estate. I would say from that point on, even though real estate came back, 2010 to 14, 15, it was a consolidation and an establishment phase that was happening in the industry. And then we were obviously stuck with things like, RERA came in, GST was introduced, demonetization happened, NBFC funding issues existed for a couple of years. So essentially, from there till the point of pandemic, I would say it was the slow cycle of real estate, and Bangalore was equally a part of it, right? But I keep saying this: what happened in those lockdown periods and through the pandemic cycles, the two major pandemic cycles of COVID that happened? I personally believe worldwide, the most common advertisement was stay safe, stay home. So I personally think home was never advertised in the world in last 100 plus years as much as it was in COVID. So real estate industry got the highest advertisement ever. And while I might say this humorously, it actually has a lot of depth to it. And if you see the moment people came out of pandemic, first the ready to move in, then the new launches, but everybody wanted larger spaces. People wanted to move from apartments to duplex, to larger lung spaces, to gated layout villas, to row houses. People wanted to move to penthouses. People wanted to move to gated communities. People wanted, beyond amenities, people started looking at different things. And also earlier, why, it became very evident to everybody for their own living and for investment that housing is not just a place to stay in. It could be, you could be forced into lockdowns of 2 months and 3 months, and you need the best place to survive. So people started spending a lot more on their well-being and living. And I think that is what changed the whole demand cycle. And it became extremely different. Work from home culture that started post the pandemic, and it is here to stay, whether in hybrid form, whether in half forms or whatever, less travel, commute times, feasibility. Today, you and I are sitting on podcast. 4 years back, we never did a Zoom call or anything like that. So, all of this, the adaptation to technology came in much faster. There were tremendous amount of innovations. And today, everybody needs an office space in their house. And I think that's what made the developers change the plans. Luxury started falling into a different bracket altogether. And today, the scales that we hear in the last 3-4 years, we've never heard it. We hear a DL selling an apartment for 100 crores, which was unheard of in Delhi. Those kind of figures, those Nariman point kind of figures were never heard in other parts of the country. But today you can hear them in Bangalore, you can hear them in Delhi, you can hear them in Hyderabad. And I think that's the biggest change that has come. Also, I feel when you talk post-pandemic, India as a country has never been geopolitically positioned as strongly as we are today.
Yeah.
Okay. When we say we'll become a $10 trillion economy by 2047, when we say by 2030, maybe 15 to 18% contribution on the GDP might come from real estate. I say just one thing. Even if you discount and we don't achieve those huge numbers, one fact is very clear, that the next 8 to 20 years, the growth belongs to India. India is going to grow very, very hugely. And if India has to grow hugely, real estate has to play a huge part into it. And that is why I feel it is the best time for the real estate industry and every real estate stakeholder, including the consumer and the buyer. What you're seeing today, see, I'm on record in Indian Express having written there saying take any city in the country, take the CBD area, like MG Road is the CBD area of Bangalore. And I said in a 10-kilometer radius after that, show me a land which is available at 6,000, 5,000, 6,000 rupees a square feet. I've written this about 10 years back. People don't buy it, but it's a fact. Today, everything is 15,000, 20,000, 25,000. It's touching those scales and the lands are touching higher. But trust me, I believe it's the tip of the iceberg and it's going to grow phenomenally over the next few years. So the future looks great.
So real estate is all about demand and supply, as we always see. And land, as they say, that God has stopped making it anymore. So it's always going to be in demand. Land reminds me about plotting projects. During or after COVID, people realized that they needed open spaces. Bangalore was already a city which carved out plots for its residents. And after COVID, I think this trend has picked up. And now Pune also is looking at many more plotting projects, or other tier two cities or other cities also looking at this. What is your take on this, Samir? What kind of plotting projects can come up closer to the town, or they'll have to go farther because of the affordability?
So, plotting projects are the biggest hotcakes,
Hmm.
biggest hotcakes of the industry. For the consumer, I believe it's the highest appreciation coming in from the plotted projects. Now, actually, a piece of land will give you the highest appreciation because it's a product which has not been manufactured. There is no apartment or a house or anything that has been built on it. It's a greenfield project, right? But however, buying an open piece of land becomes a difficult proposition for every normal customer because things could happen on an open land and it may be beyond their control. And that's where the whole proposition of a gated layout comes in. Once you are in a gated layout, the plots become a little more expensive to buy, but proportionately your appreciations are also much higher. The quality of living is just fantastic because you build a house of your own choice or a developer builds the villa schemes and gives you. Plus, you have all the amenities and the security and the safety, which becomes so important in all these towns and cities now, right? So it provides you the best of both the worlds, and it is a fabulous investment, and that's where the growth has been fantastic. Obviously, when Bangalore, if you take the CBD, when this whole concept of gated layout started pouring in, you always move to these suburbs. The greatest part of Bangalore's growth story is every 5 years, the suburb became the heart of the town. So people who moved into gated layouts there are now in the heart of the town, and then another 5 kilometers, and then another 5. See, the good part of Bangalore is, unlike Bombay, which is a linear city, Bangalore is very circular and growth is possible. You talk of about 800 square kilometer of urban area today. It's huge. We had an inner ring road coming up. We had an outer ring road coming up. Now we have a peripheral ring road coming up. So point is there is scope for growth. And obviously, an entry point budgets will always move to the next suburb because that is where it will be affordable. And closer to CBDs, the land will always become more expensive. In real estate, I say this one thing always: land appreciates, building depreciates. And as long as consumers understand it, they will know where to put their bucket.
Yes, what he says, you hit this thing. Absolutely correct. Something which is already constructed would depreciate by the day, and something where no construction is there, it will always appreciate because the more and more people would want to have that. Samir, I've made a video on Bangalore real estate. So I just talk about which locations to invest and things like that, and I get a lot of comments. So people do ask about advices, where to invest, what is good, what is bad. I don't pinpoint any projects. But there are a lot of comments from people on the traffic issues, on water issues, water being a major thing which was cause of concern. How would you address that?
So if you want to live in Bangalore, I personally believe you should consider it akin to marriage. There would be beautiful parts of the whole relationship, and yet there will be some issues that you need to learn to live with, and that's the best way to sort of live in Bangalore. Of course, for an investor, it could be slightly different, but again, lighter vein apart. Like I said, infrastructure growth did not keep pace with the growth of the city. In India, haphazard growth happens. We were not futuristic. We could not. At places, it was not possible to plan, and at places, we did not plan. Okay, but I would not be somebody who would only keep blaming the governments. We expect, right? Now, traffic. I think the amount of jokes on Bangalore traffic is absolutely amazing. But I keep saying this: I would never have learned social media and done so much of social media had it not been for Bangalore traffic, where I can sit on the back seat and do some of the stuff. So Point is, you learn to develop more skills and talent because Bangalore traffic is a reality. Is a reality. Now, the metro should have been there much earlier than it is, but eventually it's coming up. The roads need to be widened, but where? Because of the haphazard construction, land acquisition becomes a problem. All of it becomes the issue. Now, when you talk, we basically split Bangalore into 4 parts, and like any other city, and say north, south, east, west Bangalore, and we can discuss a little more detailing on each of it. But I would put it this way, that when people say IT companies are moving to Hyderabad, to Pune, to Coimbatore, to smaller towns, we will create the satellite. The fact is, when you have established bases, I'll give you a small example. 20 years back, Sarjapur Road had 1 Wipro campus and literally 2 residential complexes. Sarjapur Road is a southern east, corridor of Bangalore. Okay, it ended up becoming the Gurgaon of Bangalore. Okay, the growth is absolutely, today you don't have walking space there. The traffic can be really, really bad. But you're also talking of a density where every Tom, Dick, and Harry in terms of retail wants to be in that space. Okay, MG Road rentals for shops 15 years back were 100, 120 rupees a square feet. Places like Sarjapur Road were like 20 rupees and 30 rupees. Today, MG Road is 80 rupees and Sarjapur Road is 150 rupees. Whitefield has grown phenomenally. So these are IT corridors. Now, many, many years ago, when Shobha started putting up a large belt of apartments first here, people said, who will go and live there? And I just said one thing. I see Sarjapur Road surrounded by Whitefield, Marathali, Koramangala, Electronic City. So absolute IT hub. 16 top schools, including international schools, are on Sarjapur Road. Now, even if you put up a school today, it takes 15, 20 years before it gains its reputation. Absolutely. So when you have 16 of them in a line, I said just one thing. Parents will prefer that their children commute lesser and they commute a little bit more. And that's why this will become a great residential, place. Locality. If you ask me, even I couldn't have visualized this kind of a explosive growth. You talked about selling a few things. I can share a joke with you. Mantri developers in those days came with a project, and my company sold almost 40% of that project in the days of non-digital marketing through referrals and stuff. And I remember when Mrs. Mantri had invited me on stage to give an award, I said, I'm the laziest realtor, but if you put up a complex right 500 meters from my office, फिर इज्जत का सवाल है, बेचना पड़ता है, So, but that's how places exploded. Okay, the great part is, you look at cities like Surat, you look at a city like Ahmedabad, you look at Indore today, you look at multiple places. Great governance, when it comes in, and it will come in at some point of time or the other, it can really, really help convert that whole city into a absolute, some of the things like a traffic or a water woe can become a nightmare, right? But beyond which, I think we all have to find solutions together. Till now, we operate a lot on Jugaad technology, as we call it in India, but beyond which, we have to operate. Now, I think this is where developers and all real estate stakeholders have to become responsible builders. There is enough business for everybody. But, we must consider the future infrastructure for people to live in. Sometimes when you create a whole commercial complex, where are those 2,000, 3,000 cars going to move? Yeah. You're creating parking for them, but how do they move on the road and how much traffic do they add to it? So I think we have to be realistic on our plans and move forward. But I still think there is on the peripheries, on the suburbs, Bangalore will eventually become living townships in areas separately. It is like a congregation or a conglomerate of multiple towns that will become together, and you don't need to go everywhere. I remember when I freshly moved into Bangalore, we would visit MG Road and Brigade Road so very often. Now
Yeah.
there are times when we say, I haven't been here to a pub or a restaurant in last 6 months, because so much has grown outwards that you go to newer places and do that.
Yeah. I guess this is the same situation in other IT cities also. Pune, Hyderabad. Also, I've seen a similar thing happening. Mumbai already was showing the path. Hiranandani's developed Hawaii. Then, like you said, who's going to go and stay there? But then today, see, Hiranandanis are about to develop another such location at Panvel. They have already started the things, and it's already people are liking it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Samir, talking about work from home, I feel while this is being promoted and there is no looking back on that, and this is here to stay, whether hybrid or a regular basis. Isn't it hurting the commercial industry? Because commercial spaces are also in a little bit of less demand after that.
Very interesting. The panic with pandemic, everybody going home, PGs becoming vacant first, co-working spaces, the future looking very bleak. I'm talking of that year or so. And the co-living and the co-working spaces absolutely smashed out. That's what it looked like for almost a year, right?
Yeah.
Post-pandemic. And you see where they are today. Each one of them is growing. See, India fortunately has one thing. The thing that was our biggest weakness is our biggest strength today for the global market, and that's our population.
Yeah.
That's our population. The most wonderful part is a lot of it is the young population.
Yeah.
A lot of it is moving cities, and which is where the flex demand comes in. See, work from home, people have realized the strengths of it. People have also realized the weaknesses of it. Now companies are insisting at least a 3-day working minimum a week or a 4-day working and stuff. So which is what we say the whole hybrid culture is coming. Obviously, some of the larger companies reduce spaces, but there are enough work opportunities happening. So I'll give you a simple example. The rentals post the pandemic, fears stopped. And once companies started calling people back and they had to come to offices and people started calling back, Bangalore saw a 35% increase in rentals. And Bangalore is statistically a place where it was already the highest ROI returns on rentals in the country, literally anywhere. I'm not talking of exceptions, I'm talking of generalized scale. Okay. So if you see, those are very clear signs that all the hybrid models are going to work. Companies like WeWork and co-working spaces, companies co-living, today there is not a space left in Bangalore. See, COVID was a absolutely new fear that took off everything. Today, if you look at it, somebody says so casually, "Mere ko COVID ho gaya," and nobody is worried. It's another flu. It's another thing. So people learn to deal with it, adapt with it. I personally think there are more companies coming in. I think there is large developments happening. I think while the scale down on people and sizes happened, it is being compensated more and more by more setups happening. So it's not Hyderabad, the consumption has gone up. Pune, the commercial consumption has gone up. Bangalore still. Hyderabad took over Bangalore for a little while. Bangalore has still reclaimed his position as number one. And the way I see it for the next 8-10 years, it's going nowhere. It's growth. It's growth written all over, and it's because of the industry.
Absolutely.
See, when we say growth, one factor that I want to clarify to anybody hearing this podcast, you look at the share markets, okay? And there is always those minor corrections that happen even in the growth period. So minor bit of a correction when the inventory is high, when more inventory hits the market, it's a demand supply thing. So that adjustment will keep happening. But eventually it's larger growth that's happening. And I personally think commercial sector will grow. Commercial will continue to grow even at a faster pace than.
Great. Samir,
Two, there is a
sorry.
dimension, I'm sorry, that I would want to add. So if you visit large cities today, you see two things happening. A grade space, even before the first foundation is laid, probably, people are booking it. Companies like Microsofts and Apples and, Cisco's and all of them come in, But there is also that grade B and grade C space in India where you see enough two-leg boats. Now, that's what you call evolution to a developed economy. And places which do not give the right value will have to change and adapt and offer a different structure for the consumer to take.
That is bound to happen. So the mix of that whole thing is going to be always there. If somebody wants to get in Bangalore, which are the best locations that you would recommend, like east, west, north, south? What is seeing more of demand or more of development in terms of infra and the projects?
Super. So I would first put it, when it's a consumer, my first question would be, is it for your living or is it for investment? Because the two could go very differently. When it's living, where the kids are going to go to school, where are your workplaces, blah, 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 things will count, and that will decide east, west, north, and south, because nobody would commute across, So that's how we come to it. However, if it comes from the investment perspectives and stuff, I would say the corridor belts of Whitefield, Sarjapur, or the East Marathali, the East Bangalore, continues to remain one of the top spots for growth, with its layer of problems of traffic and water woes and all of that combined into it, right? So it's a call that needs to be taken. However, it will continue to grow, continue to appreciate, is still a great investment. Okay.
Yeah.
North Bangalore is the second belt, which is where the airport came in. Okay. The new airport came in. The whole infrastructure growth there has been fantastic. There are more SEZ parks coming in. There is an aerospace park coming in. A lot of development happening around. And there is a tremendous amount of real estate development happening around. So it's great for investment too. I would say these are the two belts that are the most intensive on the growth factors for real estate, right? Whereas you still have CBD, the demand will always be there. It's a positional stay. You have our South Bangalore places like Jayanagar, JP Nagar, which is more the entrepreneur and the local communities. You have a calmer West Bangalore, which is Malleshwaram and other places. So it will also go by independent choices on what you want to do. If somebody has to be in the IT industry, he is more likely to be in the Eastern Corridor or the Northern Corridor. If it's got to be entrepreneur, it could be somewhere else. So there are multiple growth areas. But the problem is most people stick here. Now, it's like if you look at the share market or the stocks or the equity, today I say one thing. If you look at the last couple of years of growth, okay, I was joking the other day with somebody, forget real estate, invest in real estate companies, and see where the stocks have gone. But why have they gone there? You look at Prestige, Puravankara, Brigade, all of them, Shobha, all of them are 4x plus in a year in terms of their equity values, right? What does that mean? It spells phenomenal growth. And trust me, more is coming. So what does one do? Real estate, the industry has to perform, the companies have to perform for their stocks to go up like this, right? And the key growth, as per me, will come in the areas that are a little underdeveloped as of today or have not taken up. There is a place called Kengeri, which looks like an absolute far south suburb of Bangalore, right? Joining towards Mysore. But if you see the infrastructure growth around, it's fantastic. Mark my words, the prices will double up in a year. Okay. Yeah. Similarly, 20 years back, people said, Devanali, airport is coming there, let's go and invest. And I had to request my friends, don't buy land there. It doesn't grow overnight. See, we talked at the beginning. I think that whole exposure of traveling worldwide, seeing those multiple cities. You tell me one city where
Samir, a video is stuck, I think.
next to the airport, first what you see is those commercial warehouses. Then you see some tech parks and stuff. Then you end up seeing the residential growth, which is where I said if you take Bangalore North, the Hennur, Hebbal, Yelahanka, Devanali belt. Okay, I said Hennur, Hebbal, Yelahanka will grow. Yelahanka, Devanali will grow maybe 15, 20 years later. So I would say time for Devanali has come now. However, people invested 20 years and then they waited and then they were frustrated. Ballapur is not growing, this is not growing. Then eventually, with India's population, everything will grow. But it doesn't happen right away. And I think that's where you got to be a smart investor in going, what is the ROI that you're going to get over what period of time? Yeah. You could go wrong a little bit with the world economy conditions, but not so wrong if you just calculate it right and there is no rocket science there. Which brings me to a subject that, for the smallest thing, people will go to a CA, will go to a lawyer, will go to a doctor, but will not go to a realtor to save that money. And realtors invest in all of this knowledge for them to be able to guide the investor. The investor could be for a 50 lakh rupee apartment, investor could be a 50 lakh plot, or investor could be a 5 crore, 10 crore, 50 crore, 15 crore luxury apartment or a villa, or the investor could be 50 crore land and a 200 crore land or a 500 crore commercial. But you need to go to the specialist to be able to find out the whole history and what the future graph looks like. Thank you.
So, how does one find a good realtor? Because what has happened in past, realtors or brokers have fleeced people's money because there was no education in the field. They just gathered people's trust and made them invest in properties which were good to them for sake of commissions, but not good for the clients for investments. There is where people's trust has gone bad. Thanks to NAR India, the whole situation is a little different now. We have exams of RERA. Maharashtra has already started. NAR India has been battling for this for a very, very long time. And today we have that. So now people's trust in realtors is coming through. But as per you, Samir, what are the criteria? How does one find a good realtor or a good broker who would really do a good job for his investment? Though the investment is quite high. If you go to see a 50 lakh or 1 crore apartment or a property is quite a bit. People buy and sell insurances and they've got to appear for 100 hours of exam and only then they're allowed to even offer that.
Absolutely.
So can you just throw some light on this particular subject?
Absolutely wonderful, and you hit the nail on the head. You yourselves have been, an integral part in amongst the founders in NAR India. So I put it a little differently, Kishen.
Yeah.
Somebody like me who came from a very different background. I wasn't born a broker, realtor, first generation. I started it. My first year, I went through multiple cases, which told me there needs to be a platform where the respect for the profession, the education and training needs to be highlighted. So as you rightly said, how does one select the right broker? Now, I remember a gentleman from Microsoft sitting with me and saying, why do you guys charge that much? So I told him just one thing. I said, your Windows is made. The initial cost is absorbed. After that, it is just a 10 rupee CD. Why do you guys charge 6,000 bucks per Windows? And he started laughing. And I said, what we are charging for is the investment that we make on ourselves, the knowledge that we make on ourselves. The certificates. We are half CAs, we are half lawyers. We attend so many education and training programs. However, like you rightly said, it wasn't structured in India. Now, insurance industry, you gave an example. If you take insurance industry pre-2000, it was that LIC Babu alone, right? And if you take it after that, today the top notch of the world, once the MNCs came in and once the exams came in and once the basic certifications came in, today everybody is involved in the insurance industry and well-educated ones. I think the same transition, we would say, people like you and me have seen in the last 20 years happening in the real estate industry. You look at the amount of women in real estate, I feel so proud that today 20-25% of the industry is women. At least in the marketing fields and stuff, whether it's on the developers or the realtor side, which was like a very tiny, minuscule fraction earlier. So the big change has already started happening. Now we got to take it on a very, very structured level. See, training was being given by trainers, whosoever was good. You speak well, you become a trainer, you pass it on, but it wasn't happening at an organized level. What association like NAR India, so National Association of Realtors India, being the mother association of all city association, actually covers up a large gambit of realtors. When I say large gambit, it still doesn't cover a lot of organized and unorganized realtors who need to join it for our voices to be heard across the momentum. But Maharashtra RERA set up the pace, both IRE and NAR India. IRE is the education arm of NAR India, started that course as one of the trainers, and today so many realtors go through that certification course. It's going to be a reality everywhere. RERA is going to become compulsory even for secondary sale people. So eventually the whole of the realtor gambit is going to come into it. Now, I think that organized training, there is something, we have just released the code of conduct and code of ethics. That whole training will be imparted to every broker, every agent, every realtor in the country, and multiple subjects which range from digital marketing to basic techniques to law. See, today the whole structuring in real estate in terms of a commercial transaction is becoming very complex and different. It is not the standard dalal brokerage ki mila diya, kuch mil jayega. It doesn't work that way anymore. And which is where I think it will become hugely organized. The proof lies in the pudding. And today, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and so many other people are IT industry professionals, pharmacy giants are part of the real estate marketing bandwagon because people see money, but people also see an organized structure and a respected. So I think that's knowledge and education is the way forward. And NAR India is going to be one of the largest institutions imparting it across the country through its various arms.
Also, I think with this, there are a lot of youngsters who now pursue or foresee real estate as a career, which they were never looking at. Even the women, as you rightly said, there are women getting into this kind of field now. And I'm sure going forward, this number will increase.
Absolutely. And I have myriad of jokes on that. I will not crack it right now here. But, the resistances of various people earlier, including me, when I declared to my family saying, I'm going to become a broker now. And my wife was like, after all your traveling, after all your education, if this is what you're going to become, I'm going to divorce you. And I keep telling everybody on stage, see, I kept my word. My wife did not. She's still with me. But the lighter vein apart, Kishen, the jokes apart, it's a moment of pride as to how many women are becoming a part of the real estate trade, and a lot of them completely independently, not even working with the realtor. See, most people don't even understand the meaning of the word realtor. I have read today's Economic Times, which says Mr. Piyush Goyal has promised this support to realtors. The builders are not realtors. Builders are not realtors. In the US, an agent is somebody who gets a real estate license, does the basic education, can market, and works with the broker. Broker has done higher education, higher licensing, and can hire other agents. And a realtor is more like a broker with some more qualifications, including the code of conduct and code of ethics, but more importantly is a part of NAR, the National Association of Realtors. which is our global affiliate NAR India. And that's how we have the term realtor here in India with us. And I think that's where the basic of education begins. And I think we need to train the whole world on knowing what a realtor means. I have displayed some certificates at my office just for the customers to know that we go through, accountancy course. We go through a legal course. We go through this kind of courses. That knowledge is acquired over a period of time. So you talked about stuff like, people pleasing. Today, customers, the amount of tedious laws for NRIs that have evolved in the last 5 years are so phenomenal that, you can't wait for a NRI to meet a CA after a deal. Yeah. It is pre-deal that he has to be educated by the realtor so that he takes a conscious decision on the transaction. Repatriation of funds is an absolutely different ballgame altogether what it was earlier. So when you're dealing with NRI customers, it's a different ballgame. And see, when people say large transaction, small transaction, I keep saying to the person who's doing that 1 crore, it's a I keep saying the person who's buying that 40-50 lakh apartment is probably putting 90% of his wealth into buying that apartment. Yeah. Whereas that person who's buying that 10 crore villa is probably putting only 10%, 20% of his income into that, So which is where I think we need to ensure, a knowledgeable realtor education training, via training is what comes across to India. And some of us at NAR India have actually taken up upon ourselves to ensure, because that is going to be the biggest respect factor. And it needs to become one of the most respectable professions, because it truly is a demanding career.
Amazing. Samir, talking about NRI taxes, sometime back we did a podcast on that. A very knowledgeable chartered accountant who also does a little bit of a realtor thing, does NRI tax. He only specializes in NRI taxes. And we did a podcast called Unveiling the Truth on NRI Taxes. And I got so much of appreciation from people all over. They said that we never knew that this kind of thing is there and we have to take care of this. And, people, as you rightly said, folly for this particular thing, they fall into a trap, do the transaction, and later on they realize that this is the kind of amount that they need to part with.
Absolutely. And see, I'll tell you, in between, you had asked me a question saying, in real estate, some people fleeced. Actually, it's not fleeced. It's lack of knowledge. It's not conveyed. Is this, I have developed something at my company where when we do a transaction, the day we finalizing it, the customer is told upfront, this would be the realistic cost, the other costs involved in the transaction. And I would say I have more than 100 testimonials just saying one thing, saying you're probably the first company in India that we dealt with where we knew on day one what our outflows are going to be.
Yeah.
So the big thing is a customer does not need shocks. Later when anything comes up as a surprise, it comes as a shock. As long as they are mentally prepared and they're consciously doing it, there are some realistic expenses that you can't do. If you've got to do a registration in India, whether you call it legal expenses, whether you call it some other expenses, those expenses need to go. But the customer needs to know upfront about it. Now, what was happening earlier is they were not being enlightened on this at the beginning. They were being told in the end. And that's where, similar thing with NRI taxation, which is what I'm saying. Whatever the laws keep evolving and changing, a realtor needs to continuously upgrade. There is no one who can say, I am educated and I am trained, because 3 years later, this will be obsolete and you got to know the newer things. So we are continuously learning. When you said wealth of knowledge, I am telling you, I come across 2 new things in real estate every single day, and which is why my passion and which is why I love this business, because there is so much to learn. And you need to continuously keep abreast on it.
Amazing. So we're talking about residential, commercial, retail. How do you see warehousing and logistics happening in Bangalore? what is the scene for this particular vertical?
So, sorry, your video skipped a bit. I don't know if it's the internet on either side, but you were
You want me
talking
to
about,
repeat the question?
yes, I think that we, about warehousing and logistics, right?
Logistics and logistic parks, warehousing, because that has to be a big thing in Bangalore, considering that Bangalore is expanded on all the sides and every damn thing is needed there. So companies are, I'm sure everybody is coming there to set up large warehousing units and logistic parks.
So, I think we've been getting very serious in our conversation. So I'll also crack another one. I actually met some youngsters in Bangalore, and I love the joke that came across saying somebody did his engineering and got a break in Amazon at a very high salary because Amazon is one of the best companies. And then one of their relatives from the village said, "अगर delivery करना था तो फिर engineer क्यों बना करके?" So, but that's the perception. Uh, Warehousing is, I think, already proven in the last 2-3 years. In fact, a lot of fractional real estate companies really started up and took the whole advantage of the fractional real estate via warehousing. Okay, warehousing is going to be very, very huge. And the way I understand the government plans and the nodal points that are being made in the logistics sector, I think e-commerce is going to be one of the biggest game changers. What we have seen as yet with Flipkarts and Blinkits and some of the smaller ones is probably the tip of the iceberg. We've of course seen what Amazon is doing, but it is going to come much, much, much bigger. Okay, and it's going to be the logistics is going to play a very large role. Now, Bangalore suburbs are extremely Hosur, which is Bangalore Tamil Nadu border, is already become, and just about 50 kilometers from the city center, is already becoming a very large hub. Devanhalli Airport going towards Hyderabad is a large hub. But I personally feel that all the national highways, all the corridors that are joining India will become great hubs. Nagpur should become a great e-commerce hub. Indore should become a great e-commerce hub. Kolkata or Siliguri will become a great e-commerce hub. So warehousing is going to be huge, huge demand. And the land that is neither used for farming nor can be used for residential because it's too far, is going to be converting it into industrial lands and into warehousing structures. So I think it's going to be one of the biggest businesses coming forth in India. Now, retail will only grow so much because online deliveries and online shopping is here to stay and become a part of our lives. And I think faster deliveries, how to manage, how the warehouses, how the godowns will happen in the city and warehouses will happen outside, how the deliveries will be faster is the key game to play. See, one thing, we are reaching a world where everything is required instant. It's got to be a prime delivery by Amazon. You need it the next day. You need it the same day. And I think that's where the whole industry growth there is going to be phenomenal. Which brings me to something that you've been asking questions in a very fluent manner, Kishen. But I want to say this. I hope most people realize that whether it's warehousing, whether it's retail, whether it's commercial, whether it's office space, whether it's home for a living, whether it's anything, nothing can happen without real estate. That is the importance of this industry. And that's where you need experts all around. No single person can give you the best solutions in all spheres. And that's why you need to find the specialists. And as per me, you were talking about youngsters. I am today inspired by what youngsters are learning abroad, learning from the West, coming and emulating it, putting it digitally, adaptation of technology, the way it has gone into the real estate, not just developments, but in the marketing and for the benefit of the customer is just absolutely fantastic.
Amazing. Samir, so much of knowledge, so much of depth that you have. I'm sure viewers are going to take home a lot of knowledge and a lot of wealth of on real estate. And there are people who are looking at these kind of sessions on real estate to know and to learn. Uh, Recently, we had a podcast with Mohanjit Singh, one of our earlier members,
Ah,
MJ, on
ah.
industrial, because he's a master on industrial properties. So I said, MJ, let's do one on this. So he said, and he volunteered. He said that I'll open up. Whoever wants to learn, I'll freely teach them, train them. See the generosity of that man, and he's already started getting his students.
Superb.
I'll do it free, he said. I don't have anything, but if they learn, मैं और कुछ लोगों को भी सिखा पाया और वो अपनी जिंदगी करियर बना पाए तो मेरा जीवन सार्थक है. So you have these kind of people.
Absolutely, and the industry, it's amazing. We recently had a whole leadership training done by a CEO of a large company. You might know Mr. Rashwinder Singh from ex-CEO of Bhatia City and CEO and Vice Chairman of
Yeah.
PCD Group now, and absolutely mesmerizing. So I think the industry knowledge, the industry sharing by all the stalwarts, this whole initiative by you to do podcasts with all of these people. I think these are just fantastic moves, and we need to reach as many people
Yes.
because people talk mostly generalized, and we need to get into specifics. Like you're covering Bangalore today. You cover multiple cities. We all talk of today. I say this: the IPCs talk of the top 8 cities or the 8 business centers that they talk of. Literally the 8 metros, including the new metros of India. What about the tier 2 cities? So the reason I say NAR India should be the only authorized research structure really, because we are the only ones who have our whole organizations in 45, 47 different cities in India. And tier 2, tier 3 cities are contributing immensely to the growth. So, and the working parameters could be slightly different there, but they're catching up. And I think they are more hungry. So, we need to take a whole base, and I'm sure the database reference for the government, for the industry, for the developers, and for all the bodies, not just for realtors, will change once we have a research report that's inclusive of all the cities of the country.
Very nice. Samir, your last parting words for the viewers, the people who want to buy, sell, want to get into this profession, what would be your advice?
Life is short. Buy real estate. Okay, that was really short. But, Kishen, first of all, thank you for inviting me over on this podcast. It's absolutely a pleasure and an honor to speak with you at all points of time and to reach out to what I call the reality stakeholders. For reality stakeholders, it's developers, it's builders, it's government authorities, it's my realtor and broker friends across the country and across internationally, but also the consumers. And almost everybody has a real estate portfolio. Everybody is a real estate buyer and a seller at some point of time in their life. Okay, real estate continues to remain the best investment. The pandemic was a fabulous reminder for the world to know how important is home.
Yeah.
Okay, and similar things, whether it's office, whether it's home, that roof, that structure that we call is extremely important for our lives. And I would put it this way: let's keep making it better and better. And to all my realtor friends, I will just send out one message. You are not just selling properties. You are building the nation. Think bigger, think deeper, and the next 10 years belong to the real estate and infrastructure industry in India. If there's been a good time to be a reality stakeholder, it's now.
Amazing. This is very, very encouraging, Samir, and I'm sure people are going to take a cue of this. And
I hope
if
so.
somebody is interested in embarking on this journey, this is the way forward, guys. National Association of Realtors India is present in more than 50 cities now. And if anybody is interested in getting into this business, go on to the NAR India's website and find out the associations there. Enroll. We have education. IIRE is the education arm of NAR India, and they do train you, teach you, make you able to get onto this bandwagon. Thank you very much, Samir. It was a pleasure being with you and talking to you, and looking forward to some more podcasts over a period of time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye. Hey friends, if you found today's podcast useful, do not forget to like and share it further. Please mention in the comment box what kind of subject you would want us to cover in real estate in next podcast, and what kind of guest you want us to invite here. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. See you soon with the next one. Thank you.